Brian Powell of I Run Far here with Sarah Bard after her second place finish at the 2016 Ultravasan. Congratulations, Sarah.
Thanks.
Do you have a fun day out there?
It was fun. I was actually talking to my husband after the race and I was like, oh, it was hard. And he was like, all races should be hard. And I guess that makes sense. But for some reason I just expected, because it's so beautiful and whatnot, that it's not going to hurt so much. But yeah, it was a hard day. And
when did things get hard?
well, I had some stomach issues early in the race.
Okay.
And similar to our conversation before the race about like having a muscle thing happen and then wondering like if it's going to get worse and destroy your race. I was a little bit concerned to have stomach issues so early in. But again, nothing really came of it, so it ended up being fine. But it was more, I never really felt, to be honest, I never really felt terrible during the race. I just never, I was always on this borderline, which is maybe where you want to be, is the borderline of pushing hard enough.
All right, yeah. Like a motorbike.
The borderline of pushing hard enough, but also not feeling like you're completely done.
That's working pretty hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. How did you end up doing on the technical trail there for the 15K?
I thought I did pretty well. I didn't look at my watch much because I was worried that I would fall down.
Yeah.
But I think I managed to maintain like 7:30s for the most part. I probably ran some high 8s. So at not high 8s, but mid 8s at one point. But I was surprised to get passed so quickly by Isabella. Yeah. Because in the press conference, she had said, you know, how shocked she was about it. And I was like, okay, well, maybe we'll be like evenly matched on this portion. But, you know, a mile in, she just blew by me.
Really? So you were ahead of her at that
lost. Yeah. I went in, Yasmin was ahead of me, and I kind of anticipated to lose distance on her for sure at that point. But then I got past, I could hear some people coming up behind me, and it was her and a couple of men, and they just blew by me, and I could probably see them for about another mile, and then I was just alone.
Then did you settle into no woman's land for pretty much forever?
Yeah. Yeah. I ended up, there was a guy about 40 kilometers from the finish, and we kind of yo-yoed back and forth. Like, you know, he would get a half mile ahead of me, and then I'd see him again, and then I'd get a half mile ahead of him. But for the most part, I was alone a lot of the race.
Yeah. How was being in your head for that long? Because like, at a race like, you know, like a Vince Schoten or a Comrades, there's so many people around that you might be running alone, but you're not alone. Yeah.
It was not terrible. I liked having the kilometer marks all the time because that was
you liked that.
Yeah. Every kilometer. Sometimes I'd miss one and then surprise myself, which was really nice. I'd be like, oh, now I only have 20 left instead of 22. But yeah, there's a lot of time to be thinking out there completely alone and how you're doing and how much longer you have to go. But I don't know if it made a huge difference versus Comrades and having a lot of people all over the place. And
you sort of talk about being on that line. Do you think you had something more if you had to have pushed it at the end, or?
You know, I felt pretty tired by the end. I kept asking where third was because I just felt like some miles I would just start dipping down pretty slow, and I was worried that I was just going to keep going slower, and then I'd have a good mile. I think it was maybe the change in the terrain, but it was never overly noticeable.
But it rolled.
Yeah. So I think it was maybe that. But by the end, usually in ultras, I felt like I can push harder at the end, and this one I was just maintaining.
Yeah. What were you doing for nutrition out there?
I ate a lot of gels, and Coke, and that's about it. Which was why I was a little bit nervous about my stomach, because it's not like I was putting something in there that was gonna soothe it. I was just adding more caffeine and more sugar.
But it turned out all right.
Yeah.
And so what's up next for you?
I am doing the World 100K, I think.
You think?
Yeah. The date's been flipping back and forth, which makes me a little bit nervous to put all my eggs in that basket. But luckily there are other races at that time of year, so I'm going to train as if I'm running it and hope that it goes off without a hitch.
But you have backup plan.
Right.
So.
Well, I think if for some reason something falls through with 100K, I'd like to run the North Face or something like that, where it's nice to run an end of the year race, and then really feel like you can take advantage of the holiday because you just had this big accomplishment and now.
So why would you've done JFK, try something new, or just the competition, or?
Yeah, I mean, the thing about JFK, I would like to try something new. And the thing about JFK was before we were living on the East Coast, and it was just such an easy flight to get down there, and the race is well organized. And now that we're on the West Coast, it's kind of similar. It would just be a very easy flight. There's not a lot of commitment. So again, if I invest time and money into getting down there for the race, and it would be nice to compete against people who I don't compete against that often.
Yeah.
So it would be nice to do that.
Now, would you consider coming back here again next year?
Yeah, definitely. This race, I was just amazed by how well organized the race was, and how much they seem to really care about the runners and less about the race itself and the race's success. It was great. I felt like they treated us incredibly well. And now that I know the course a lot better, I think it's a beneficial thing to know this course a little bit. Because
you would train differently, or just how you would approach the race a little bit differently, or knowing you're faster and slower, or what?
I think I would approach the race a little bit differently. There were parts where, for some reason, I was picturing it much more packed dirt road, because we ran the technical section on one day, and then the second day we ran the end section, which is really like hard packed dirt road, except for like one hilarious sandy part that's like impossible to get through at that point of the race. But it was very soft and grassy and very cross country-ish, I think. And there were more boardwalks than I anticipated. So things like that, just knowing what's coming up and what to expect, I think can make it a little bit easier to push harder, or
just know that it's not a time to
exactly.
Push. Yeah. Like, I've heard reports of there was one section that was really spongy, or
some of the roads were just, you were just being absorbed by them, and that was, I think, the thing that surprised me, is that it was, I just can't imagine how Jonas ran that time.
None of us can.
So I think that was it. Like, that time just made me think like, oh, that we're just gonna fly through here. But it was actually like a challenging course with, that sand area and the sponginess, and it rolled pretty well, and you're running through like grass but
a lot of variety.
Yes, yeah.
And the countryside.
It was a lot of fun. It really reminded me of a cross country race, but for 7 hours.
Nice.
Yeah.
And you've enjoyed cross country in the past, so you were at home.
Yeah, it was fun.
Nice. Well, congratulations, Sarah, and good luck.
Thanks.